quite a collection of these things. I need to start returning them, I guess.
Are you ready, Shane? Do you leave it on? No.
If it's soft,
Thank you.
Are you guys ready? Good. I'd like to call the Select Board meeting of Monday, September 23rd, 2024 to order. Additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 3, minutes approval, meeting of 9/9/2024.
I move to approve the minutes of the Select Board meeting of September 9, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 4, Select Board pay orders.
I move to approve the pay orders for payroll and accounts payable.
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 5, announcements and correspondence. Go ahead.
Hazardous waste collection, October 3rd, Ludwig School from 9 to 1. Free to residents of the 5 towns we serve, and businesses need to register and pay for disposal.
Ballots have been were mailed today from the Secretary of State's office. So
No problem.
who wants to go absentee, you'll get it in the mail, you can drop it off at the town office, or come on election day and deposit it here. We'll meet here.
Do you need help with the election?
Yeah.
I have a couple. The Planning Commission held its first meeting on the 16th of this month and elected Jen Greenfield, who might be here. Not.
It's here.
As the chair, Brent Bamarito as the vice chair, and Steve Twitchell as the clerk. He was the,
Jenny Hill is here.
I said that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
They'll meet on the second and fourth Mondays of the month at the town hall while the town office is under construction.
At what time?
6 o'clock. I have a deadline this Friday for the applications under the, what's called the MERP program. That's Municipal Energy something program. And, you know, we're allowed, grants can be up to $500,000 per community. The priority buildings, and we got into this program early, so we're eligible, and we're at the higher levels of eligibility. So the priority is going to be for the town office project, because we have some budget constraints there, and we've got a lot of elements of that project, including the elevator and the insulation work, roofing work, things like that, that will be eligible. So that's going to be the priority. And the second priority is this building, and there's a number of, obviously, a number of things that can be done to this building to button it up. So I'm going to be working throughout this week to get those in by Friday, working with Wyndham Regional Commission has appointed someone here. The Spring Hill Road Culvert Project, we received approval this week to begin the right-of-way process. And in the back of the room is Matt Bachler. Matt is our project for the wastewater project. So that's, we're making real good progress on that. And so I was going to give informal calls to the 2 property owners. One is some documents from Green Mountain Power's there have been delays to that project because of another location. Something like that. But then there's also the monthly report from the Wyndham.
Thank you.
Ellen Spalding, and on behalf of Brooke, I want to thank you for allowing us to do the coin drop on September 14th.
Pay for it, too.
It got hot.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, we'll move on. Item 7, town official business. 7A, Village Wastewater Committee. Approve ARPA grant funding amendments.
Catch catching up on a couple of things here. In your meeting packet, on page 11, is the beginning of information related to elements. And again, Matt Bachler is here, and he can answer a lot of questions on this. Did you want to run with this? I mean, yeah, let's do that. The grant agreement, there's Agency of Natural Resources, and long story short, there are some changes to the $4,009,000 to $4,050,000 in one case, and then in the other, I'm incorrect, it goes to $4,143,000. And part of the reason that we're projects elsewhere are not moving forward, so we're benefiting, or their project just going south or something like that. And as I mentioned, there's a couple of just deadline changes and some report applying with that already anyway. And that's it on that. If there's any questions, let me know.
I'm happy to move it. Anybody got any other questions?
No.
I move to accept the terms of the amended ARPA funding grant for both the North and South Village wastewater projects, and to authorize the town administrator to execute the documents on behalf of the town. The board accepted the terms of the original agreements on February 5th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next is to review the ordinance and fee structure, and I guess a couple other things, and get a very comprehensive explanation of what these are all about. And it's okay, I'll hand it over to you. If it's okay.
Well, we got to move to that item first.
I'm sorry, my apologies.
Moving to 7B, Village Wastewater Committee, review and discuss proposed wastewater ordinance and fee structure. Go ahead.
Don't think we have anyone from the wastewater committee here, so I can speak to this. The main point of this agenda item is just to familiarize the select board with the wastewater ordinance. So this is in draft form, and our intention is not to have the select board approve anything this evening. It's a pretty lengthy document, so we wanted to come to you early on, just in the process. This is something the Village Wastewater Committee is working on, the wastewater ordinance, and there are some questions that I had for the select board this evening to help us to continue to work on that ordinance, but we would be coming back to the select board, probably multiple meetings to continue to refine the ordinance before you're asked to consider approving an ordinance. In working on developing the wastewater systems, once that system is in place, you will need to have an ordinance that regulates it and manages it and informs property owners on how they can connect to the system, what they're responsible for, what can and cannot be put into the system, how fees are going to be applied, any number of things. And so I did in the memo, I wanted to provide the select board just with an update on where we're at in the project. And I'm happy to answer any questions just about project status, but we are moving forward and moving along with the ARPA amendment agreement. It does give us a little more time with completing final design plans, but we are still on track for bidding the project next spring and then starting construction hopefully next summer. So if it's all right, I was just going to walk through some of the questions in that memo. Some of these questions are more meant for discussion purposes, and we don't necessarily need an answer this evening, but just to get the select board to start thinking about some of the things that are included in the ordinance. So the first question is bond that the town approved will be covering the local portion of the construction costs.
Wanted to mention that when they proposed the increase in grant to us, we asked the question whether or not that's going to increase our local match, and the answer was no, that that's free money, which is nice.
Yeah, so that helps. Yeah. But how the town covers the repayment of the loan that the town will be taking for the construction costs, there are two options really. Those construction costs are spread out across the town, across your property owners that are connected to the system being responsible for those construction costs. If it's town-wide, that spread results in higher fees for the I know there have been conversations about how those loan repayments will be covered, but I did want the board to just get some clarification if there had been a decision made on that in the past, or if that's still something that's under discussion. That the town is responsible for the system, so the operation and maintenance costs. But it's that, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's village.
Yeah, we did have a discussion about that, and we ran the numbers, correct me if I'm wrong, we ran the numbers and cost of the taxpayers.
Number, but it's roughly 25 in each
It's
village,
about
maybe?
24, I believe.
Something like that. But yeah,
And it could vary
depends on
depending
the
on who
use, like
connects.
a restaurant is much higher than a home.
based on it, and, you know, correct me, it's all yeah.
That's right, yeah, because for both the North Village and South Village, the engineering firm is, they're designing the treatment field, and the treatment field will have a certain capacity for how much daily flow it can handle, and so it's all based on how the state determines average daily flows for all the different uses, residential uses and commercial uses. So depending on who's connecting to the system, we do those calculations and figure out which properties can connect exactly versus, or up until when we reach the capacity point.
It's roughly 6,800 gallons per facility.
And the North Village has one facility, and the South Village has a phase 1 and a phase 2 that are approximately the same
Right,
size.
phase 1 is being done now, and the piping and all that is being put in for a phase 2 at no additional cost. And that's covered. So if in the future we decide to add more homes,
It could nearly double there,
Could.
right?
Yeah, it would go to about 48, I believe.
And that leads me to the next item in the memo, which is about the South Village and capacity in the South Village. So based on the current design and current interest in property owners in the South Village, it looks like for phase 1 we may be oversubscribed. So it's still shaking out as we're still figuring out who exactly is interested in connecting, and the engineering firm is still meeting with property owners and surveying properties, making sure the connections work. But just based on their design for phase 1, there may be more interest than the system could handle for the first phase. And so this is an item that's really just meant for discussion this evening, which is, if that's the case,
think we talked about
We
this
talked about
building
that, yeah, and the town garage.
and possibly the town garage.
Yeah, so those are, those are different options to consider. We can come back with a recommendation. But we may need to make decisions about that. You know, we're excited that there's, but it, you know, we wish we had enough capacity in phase one to serve everyone. Some
Will
properties.
Will you have information available about each applicant as to whether, I think there are a few that I'm aware of already, but.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one way the select board could look at it too, we know there are some systems that are closer to failure than others, or urgent for a number of reasons for someone to connect. And so that could be another thing that the select board considers. One thing that the committee is working on is kind of an application form that once the ordinance is in place, that someone who's looking to connect would need to fill out. We're still working on the ordinance, some type of application form. We've reached and we've done community to see if they're interested, and then the engineering firm has been following up and setting up those meetings to help them design the system. But it would be helpful to have more of a formal application for formal commitment from properties that want to commit to connect, and that's something that could be included on that form, just for a property. If they have serious constraints with their existing system, because prioritize for phase one, just as one example. The next item is regarding pre-treatment. So for restaurant uses, for example, those uses require pre-treatment before the wastewater goes into your system, just to make sure you're not having certain materials getting into the system and compromising the wastewater system. So those are typically from the engineer in the $8,000 for those pre-treatment systems with the initial installation. So this is something that for the town to consider is if the town wants to cover that additional cost as part of the initial construction, so that the town is paying for, obviously putting in the treatment field and the pipes up to properties, and then the town is also committed to paying for a single-family home, for example, and the tanks that will collect waste before going into the system. But that will all be covered under the ARPA grant agreement, and those pre-treatment systems can be covered too. But it is, probably for the North Village and South Village, we are only talking about 2 to 3 commercial properties. I would guess for each North Village and South Village that might need those pre-treatment systems, but they're not inexpensive. So, if it's $50,000, that could be $200,000 if we're talking about 4 commercial properties. So that's an item for the town to decide if it wants to cover those costs as part of the initial construction. When we work on the fee structure, those properties will get higher. They'll get charged a higher fee just because the operation and maintenance associated with the treatment system is more expensive, so the town will want to cover its costs.
It'll be owned by the town.
It'll be owned by the town. It'll be owned by the town, and the town will be maintaining those along with the other system, the other more involved than the infrastructure on just a single family property. So,
The RCAP Solutions can tell us what other municipalities are doing.
yeah, yeah, that's,
And I think we need to know which properties will need that. Because we only have one restaurant in town, and then we have a deli. I don't know if a deli would require it. And here in South Village, we have the marketplace, which
yeah.
I don't even know if they gotta have a public bathroom, I guess.
They don't have,
No, they don't.
No, they don't, so,
That's the point, that's the point.
so, yeah,
Yeah,
there's not many.
yeah.
Grandma Miller's if it hooked up, probably.
the one,
Grandma Miller's if it hooked up, probably. I don't know.
That's a lot of
That
food
would be
prep.
industrial,
yeah.
commercial waste.
Yeah, I think we can get clarification from the engineer on which, because it's a state requirement, who's gonna need pretreatment, and so even, they'll be able to give us need that, and then we can calculate it. So, another item just for the select board to start considering. Once the system is up and running, you will need to have a sewer commission that's responsible for managing the system and setting fees and approving applications. So under statute, the commission can be the select board. So the select board can just act as the sewer commission, or you can choose to set up a separate commission, which include members of the select board on that separate commission.
Sounds like similar to a Cannabis Control Commission, which can be the select board or else.
I'm impressed with some of the folks who are on the Village Wastewater Commission planning group, and it might be nice to roll that into this future committee.
It could be advisory to the board, but they'll need to, I mean, if we create a, not a district, but a utility, that would have to go to the select board to determine rates and what have you.
Yeah, and what I've seen other towns do is have it like, at least one, maybe two members of the select board serve on the sewer commission too, and that way you have, some transparency
Right.
between the two. Yeah. So that's just another item, just to bring to your attention. The next one is regarding town reserve capacity. So in the draft wastewater ordinance, so this is a model ordinance that was developed by Birchline Planning. They've done a lot. I know they've around some of the public outreach, leading up to the preliminary engineering report on developing similar community wastewater systems. So they
capacity if we don't have anybody, you know?
So it's,
Well,
yeah,
I had a question. If we were to decide on reserve capacity and, you know, potential projects, it might be helpful to know the potential for money to do like phase 2 or maybe even expand in the North Village. If there was like very little likelihood that anything was going to happen soon, we may be more inclined to reserve space.
yeah.
But if we knew that, you know, maybe funding was available and it's likely that we could phase out more, or, you know, enter other phases to increase capacity in the short term, then maybe we don't need to reserve it if we knew there was money in the pipeline.
I see the capacity being so low, period, that I don't think we should reserve anything. I mean, you're only looking at 24 houses in each village or so.
I kind of feel that way too, and the focus really, instead of being on a reserve, should be on increasing capacity and seeking funding to expand the system.
I think if there's anything that is a potentiality, it is affordable housing of some sort, being receptive for it. And so if there is a way to set aside, and I don't know what the size of the affordable housing might be, but just even to put an earmark in there that says that we know that this is something we want to be developing in our community. So somehow, again, put some kind of reminder in there, but to look at that as something you could reserve for.
And maybe based on a timeline or feasibility of a project like that too.
Yeah.
It could be earmarked for phase 2
You
of
could build in
stuff there.
priorities, a priority
Yep.
list in it, you know, A, B, and C. that
Yep.
These types of projects would be
Yeah.
given primacy.
Well, I can follow. I know Dufresne Group, the engineering firm, I know they have some estimates for phase 2 in the South Village, and I mean, that phase 2 is really, you know, we would be constructing the system so that for phase 2, it's mostly constructing the treatment field on the site. You know, all the other infrastructure's in place. I mean, there's probably some additional like pumping that needs to happen with phase 2, but you know, I'm assuming it would be quite a bit less expensive than phase 1, because phase 1 we're putting in all the infrastructure to serve the
It could
village.
be that some other town
Yeah,
can't do their project and more money frees up,
yeah.
and we'd be really nicely positioned for that.
Hmm.
Patty's got a question.
I have a question. Shane, you mentioned phase 2 is covered regarding costs that are, is phase
No, I
2?
didn't say, no.
That's not.
What happened, the first part of the discussion on wastewater was that our initial ARPA agreement, the dollar amount was increased insofar as what our grant is.
Oh, right.
And that's
Yeah.
just to cover the existing project.
Question, does the group have a sense of how much capacity phase 2 might provide?
It doubles it.
It's about 6,800 gallons or somewhere right in there. I think they were
Took it to 12,000?
hoping, yeah, they were
Yeah, it was
hoping
around
that it was
12,000.
slightly more, but I think they were still doing some homework on exactly what that number was.
I mean, as a member of the Housing Commission, I would speak to interest in joining forces with wastewater to apply for grants related to wastewater, phase 2, and housing together. I think it would be a nice combination.
Right.
Where that would be located, don't know, but it's a
Trevor?
little bit of a,
Oh, sorry.
a cart before the. We don't attract developers or interest. So if there's an opportunity, and reserve would be even more attractive, but if there's an opportunity, we could find interest.
Just a question about phase 2, we keep hearing about it, I know you're one of the Salisbury Village, you're not able to monitor it yet, but you're gonna expand it for double capacity. Does that mean you're gonna reach out further?
I don't think that has been determined yet. It sounds like we are over capacity where we're reaching to already, so I doubt we'd probably go too much further.
My understanding would be that it would be to connections to the infrastructure that's in place from phase 1.
Yeah, okay, I was just curious if it was gonna.
That's just my-
But it's only doubled, I think,
Londonderry
in
one
South
was-
Village.
Yes.
It's,
North Village there can't be any more in the North Village at that site.
Okay.
it's
so
only a
that's-
South Village capacity.
Yeah.
Would be honest.
Just to be clear, that's not planned for any specific time, that's if funding becomes available.
Okay. I can provide a little more information on, just the phase two and, what funding might be. As are working under, the same grant agreement, the same type of grant agreement as Londonderry, the ARPA grant agreement for these systems. And Londonderry is, certainly one of the towns that's further along, and we don't know if another town a few months from now is not able to continue on, if that funding might get freed up, and if Londonderry is interested in pursuing phase two, that could happen. But we can't make any promises, but there are other funding opportunities out there that the town could consider. And then the last item that was mentioned in the memo, again, this is just something to start thinking about, is if the town connects municipal facilities to the system, how the town's going to pay for that. So that's just something to start thinking about, just as you would be paying into those operation and maintenance fees to help.
Normally a budget line,
Sorry.
normally a budget line
Yeah,
in other communities.
Yes, so, I know that's something Chrissy, the engineer, had a question about. So those were just some items that I highlighted in the memo. Again, it's the draft ordinance it's lengthy. I'm happy to answer any questions. If select board members had any questions about the draft ordinance. A lot of it is technical, of just dealing with how the sewer commission approves permit applications, prohibitions on what you can put into the system, and things like that. Again, this is not the last time we'll be looking at this, but I did want to highlight some of the bigger items in there that the town will need to consider. As Shane mentioned, there's a group, RCAP Solutions, which provides at no cost services for towns to help with things like developing fee structures for these types of wastewater systems. They also provide assistance with how to operate the system, so just how to, once the system is up and running, they could assist the town with the process of hiring a superintendent, and just, there are a number of things the town will need to consider for once the system is operational. And we've met with RCAP Solutions. Again, those services are at no charge to the town. That's an agreement between the town and RCAP Solutions. It's federal funding. They're going to be meeting with the Village Wastewater Committee tomorrow, just to get a clearer understanding of what the town's needs are. But the big thing that we're looking for help on is the fee structure, just helping get that developed. But that's something that will come back to the select board.
And so, and I guess based upon tomorrow night's meeting, they'll have a better idea of what the services that they would be needed for, and then they'll forward to us an agreement. I'm recommending that the board just pre-authorize it because it's a no-cost agreement. I've worked with them in the past, and this is what they do. That's all they do.
If there are any questions at this point, like I said, I'll be back at future meetings.
I would make that motion if there were anything.
Hold on.
Just one more thing, and this is for the board, I would just like, this is for Bill, just the people using this system. Taxpayer
said $17.
No, there was no $200 a year, but my point is, either way, it was $17 or $200, taxes are already going up, and mine alone went up $400 this year, so I hope the board would take in consideration for the people that are on the outskirts of this. Either $17 or $200, I'm not gonna take care over that, but it's still, it's an extra at that point. So I hope that the board, that of the taxpayers that are on the outskirts of town that are basically in essence paying for something.
And we most. Go ahead.
I move to authorize the town administrator to enter into a no-cost service agreement with RCAP Solutions for tech wastewater.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to item 8, transfer station solid waste management.
Yeah.
One, compared to the amount of money we're talking about, this is a drop in the bucket, but we did get a pesticide grant that is available between July 1st, 24 to June 30th, 25. It's somewhere, I didn't bring the number, but I think it's like $3,250, which won't even cover the pesticide for this coming collection. But it's something, right? We did get a quote slab for the compactor, and that came $4,538. That's 34 feet long, 10 feet wide, and 6 inches deep, and can be done with a couple of weeks' notice.
How much was it?
I'm sorry.
4,500,
4,500.
I believe, is what you said, correct? 4,500?
38. So I guess it's a decision about compactor. Let's go ahead, get the slab in, order the compactor, and move. Right? So I guess, how much would it save?
No, how much was it?
29.6.
29.6.
Yeah.
All right, I thought it was more than that, so about 35, maybe a little more with electrical.
30, a little more than 34,000 for both.
Yeah.
And then with this savings of $23,000 a year in hauling costs, it wouldn't take long to recoup that amount. So I don't know how to proceed with that, if you guys need to vote and say, yeah, let's go ahead, or if you want to wait until the next meeting.
We'd probably have to ratify it.
Yeah, we'd have to ratify it anyway, so we might as well just, let's get all the numbers
We
together.
would have to ratify a vote anyway because we didn't put a vote on the agenda.
Yeah. So let's get all the numbers together and then we can look at them next meeting.
Okay.
I think it sounds like a viable project.
Yep.
Just
So
commenting.
moving on to this, the punch cards, I have just been racking my brains, and I had a conversation with the VP of the, I don't know what you call it, the grocery store, which here it's called the Mountain Marketplace, but there's, I don't know, 7 or 8 in the state. And he felt that he couldn't do it with the checkout people selling the punch cards because he didn't have the manpower, he didn't want to use his current help to do that. So I had been on a search for a vending machine for months, and finally found this one that you have the, because the first version was a larger model, and then I looked at their site and I thought, oh, this mini should work fine for us. It's like a refrigerator, so I went back to Mike from the market and he thought that might work. as credit card, because then the machine will have to be and the cash carried to wherever. And you'd be able to pay with your phone. So, yeah, that's the big question, if somebody can't pay with cash, if it's gonna come back.
Could they bring cash to the town
They
clerk's
can bring
office?
cash to our office.
Right, so
No.
cash customers would have a
Cash is really
separate
all they have,
location
but-
maybe, but,
But most people walk in and hand us their credit card, so,
right.
or try to.
So that would be better
Yeah.
if it was only credit card.
Can you also do it on the website already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they do it on the website and
Then we have to mail them to
Yeah,
them.
you have to pick up.
people, like, I'm going to the transfer station now, I want the ticket now.
Yeah.
So this would solve that problem, and the hours are great, and I'm grateful that Mike has agreed to this. So, whether we want to move ahead with it, because quite frankly, I haven't figured out any other solution.
I think this seems like a pretty good idea, really. I was gonna add to that and just say, after the last meeting, I just was on my computer and I literally transfer station ticket or, card sales or punch card sales, and things came up relatively local. People that are developing similar systems, a lot of them were actually on-site, but just as another resource, if you to look at some of those things, there are, I can't think of the towns, but there was like 2 or 3 towns in Vermont that are currently installing these systems too.
Installing,
Like a credit card, point of sale kind of thing,
Right.
right at the transfer station.
yeah, and so I have been with Lancaster, New Hampshire, whose population is the same as all our 5 towns together, and they do that at the transfer station, but they only do it for part of what they do there. And I forgot what other part of their system is. This is kind of simple, and there's lots of rumors flying around. I would ask everybody not to really talk about exactly what's going to happen until we all figure it out, because somebody went into the hardware store. It's like, no, not yet. Or where are we going to go if you don't do it? And so they've been getting inundated with questions. And then Steve at the transfer station had a whole lot to say too. So this is what I came up with, and I guess you and I have to decide if that's what we want to do. Otherwise, I don't know where to go from here. Steve said, oh, if I have to use the transfer station, then
But then that defeats the purpose, because the punch cards are like cash, so. Cards at the transfer station or,
correct. And that's the other thing, is we don't want to store them there.
no.
Right.
One thing he mentioned to me was if people are coming in to buy cards and use them as they go, you'd actually have to create a location to buy them, and it definitely would complicate things, so.
It would take longer than just Xing out one of the.
Right. Marking off a prepaid card is faster than much of it's being used.
Right, Tuesday.
Do you think that this might help alleviate some of the problem with, they would then be responsible for buying their own punch cards versus it being supplied by the owner?
So,
And then they would it be able to say, like, have 3 or 4 bags worth of the trash available versus, what is it? Yeah.
so the issue, one, is that short-term renters, they're left, and if that's their responsibility, the least punch cards they can buy service to more, and certainly buy a sticker for the season, right? I haven't been able to connect with Andy, but yeah, I do think that's something that has to be figured out, and you're absolutely right.
And the cost of this, Tina and I were talking before the meeting started, be split between the various town municipalities? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And does it pay back in some way or another? I mean, how do we refund our?
I think so, no, unless this would be the time when you'd say,
We're raising fees.
let's raise the price. Right?
To cover the cost of this?
Yeah, I mean, as it is, the punch cards, because people pay for disposal of construction and demolition and tires and
Mhm.
those other things, not for recycling, which costs quite a bit
Mm.
to recycle. And the sale of those cards do not make up for what it costs to run the solid waste group. I won't say just the transfer station, but the solid waste group. Right.
Doesn't even come close.
Because also what's not included in there is my actions, the outreach that I have to do, that kind of stuff.
I think unfortunately, we would have to raise prices so far to pay off the bills for the transfer station. I don't think you'd ever be able to do it.
No.
Tom, I can't hear you.
I don't think you'd ever be able to raise prices enough to pay off what the transfer station spends every year,
A
because no
slight,
one would go there.
a slight increase
Yeah.
might help,
Yeah,
but
a
you'd
slight
never
increase
cover the
might-
cost
Yeah.
entirely
No,
Maybe increase the cost.
and have
of
it be
stickers.
affordable.
yeah, you'd never have anyone go there.
Right, it'd be all over the roadside.
We have
I think
to-
that's the,
So we still about 1,000, maybe? So it's a drop in the bucket, really. So if we, Gina was saying, increase the cost of the annual sticker, but if we sell about 1,000 and you raise the price $5, that's a drop in the bucket compared to what we pay.
I was thinking 10.
You were thinking what?
10. Raise it
Raising it
$10.
10.
No, to $20 instead of 10.
Right. It's still,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
okay.
not.
So, but it can, I mean, that could be part.
has paid for itself. That excess could blend.
So, I
Like,
guess I need direction.
I guess if you look at it that way, Taylor, this machine, the savings.
Right, if you roll this in against that, the savings from the other
Yeah.
improvement.
We pay about half.
We pay the
Yeah. We pay by population and we pay about 40%.
My point is to go off the 35,000,
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
not accurate.
It's not Londonderry footing the entire bill, at least,
Right.
yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Well, again, because we don't have it on the agenda to vote for this one, we can put it on the next agenda.
We ordered it before the end of the month, and I'm not saying we should do this, it's an extra $500 off.
of ordering and receiving and needing something in place by January 1st, it may make sense for two reasons. To
Say, we had it at the market, they wanted to put in, they do that on this machine too?
Wait, what? I don't understand.
Can you sell different stuff out of this at the same time? Gift cards for the market and charge them a small fee every year to use the machine.
So actually, that
Or
was one of
not,
the
because they're
things-
letting us put the machine in their store.
Well, that's true
Yeah.
too, yeah. Other-
How many slots does it have?
How many
Yeah.
what?
How many?
Ending.
As many slots as we want, but, I don't think we need
We need
any
4.
slots.
Well,
We need 3,
yeah,
really.
we don't want to sell stickers.
No. But the other thing that they mentioned was
We've talked about it a
We
little bit.
might be, but I mean, with information on the route, right? It might be, whatever other information we need, the phone number, how to get in touch, email, whatever. Me or us trying to figure out how to
Label
advertise
it.
what's there.
All right.
Yeah, because we'll sell this.
I very much appreciate your work on this, and I'm sorry it's sucked up so much time and energy, but this sounds like a reasonably good solution. The best
And this though.
A lot of the stores are now charging 2.3, 2.1, 3.1 for credit card, processing. Could that be built into this system?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a
So
Tina
that,
question.
then that would help cover the processing, because credit cards can take a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cards now, the user pays the fee, we
Yeah.
have no fees.
And same at the hardware store currently. If you use your credit card, you pay the fee too.
Cash is still.
But,
Right.
Is that all you have for?
Maybe you're saying,
Yep, next meeting. Is that all you have for the updates now?
isn't that enough?
Just making sure.
Esther, could you email this to me? The handout that you provided?
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
All right, moving on to 8B, consider extension of contract for winter maintenance. So I did not hear anything negative about Alex's performance this last winter, so I don't see any reason not to extend the contract. Anybody else? No.
Sounds good to me.
Anyone care to make the motion then?
I move to consent to extending the contract with Alberti Landscape Construction LLC for transfer station winter maintenance for the next 2 winter seasons, and authorize the town administrator to execute any documents necessary for the service agreement extension. The board approved the initial contract on November 20th, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Moving on to item 9, roads and bridges, 9A's updates.
I got the fuel for August is the transfer station was 140 gallons, and the equipment was 608. I did see the new truck. They were hoping by the end of this month it would be in our hands, but I haven't heard an update. I know it was in the shop the other day when I ordered a part, because I asked them to put the part in the cab of the truck and just deliver it.
Those are just the paved aprons at the end of those dirt roads. That was I just wanted to follow up on that from last meeting. Question I couldn't quite answer.
I guess another mention is under the Mount Road from Crossroad back to Thompsonburg will be closed on Thursday. They're doing Green Mountain Power's doing underground across the road. We put some warning signs up this morning, and I think David Shaves is doing the work of Shaves Excavating. And I think they said they had signs to place when they were doing the work, but if they didn't, I offered to loan signs out for road closures and stuff.
Is that access permit we just issued?
Yes.
Perfect.
So you said Brophy was on the additional?
Apron.
Alright, cause I was wondering, cause I was getting a lot of complaints this week from people on that road, so I was gonna ask some about the road.
What is the distance from the edge of Route 11?
I measured what was there, and that's what I put in the study,
So Sherwood Forest and Brophy Lane and Riley Road all get the same treatment. It's like, is it 20 feet from the edge of the,
Well, Riley was a little wider, so I don't remember the exact measurements.
yeah, I don't have it right in
Well,
front of me either.
I did get,
I'll
I pulled
talk
up
to them,
the,
but I was getting a lot of complaints this week, so. that's why I
Yeah,
was gonna bring
that's
it to
been
you and ask.
ongoing, so.
Yeah.
I pulled up the scope of work, if you want. What width are you looking for?
I was just saying, like, from the edge of the state highway, the distance back, the idea being that a car pulling up to leave the end of a dirt road would be parked completely on pavement, so you're taking off on pavement as opposed to
Right.
some of the aprons now are covered with dirt because it's broken up underneath, and so the apron is really short or seemingly non-existent, so it
Yeah.
should replace that
It's,
situation.
Melendi is 49 feet, Brophy 23, Sherwood Forest 26, Riley 28, Under the Mountains 60 feet.
That's
I
good.
took existing measurements, so,
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, accurately, like I told anybody that came out and took a ride around that I took the farthest point, and, the farthest point with my measurements.
And that measurement is perpendicular to the state highway, correct? Not the width of the
No.
approach, but the,
No, we also have the width
I did both
specified.
directions.
right,
So like
okay,
Melendi is 60, Brophy 30, and down the line.
yeah.
So they're all pretty accurate.
Did a width and
Thank you.
length, I guess.
What's that?
I did a width and a length, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right. Is that good for updates?
I think so.
Can I ask a quick question, Josh? On Parsons Lane, the other day, it looked like you had watered it, is that right? Did you guys go down?
Chloride.
What was it?
Magnesium chloride, dust control,
Oh, and do you normally do that, or is it just because it's been so dry?
once a year, usually every road gets hit. This year we've done a couple of them twice because of new gravel and the dust.
Yeah, it's been dusty.
Yeah, well, I went down there.
Thank you
It got
very
great-
much.
Got graded, but it didn't get done, so it got done.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I
So
don't know what the product was.
We've been approving, is it like 12,000 gallons in a
Yeah, 12.5,
contract?
I think it is.
Annually, based on our mileage to be able, if we put down that amount, I mean, the main purpose is to keep the road tight and avoid potholes forming right away, but it, over time, it retains the fines in the surface of the road, so that, like, when it's dusty, you end up with just stone in the road, and then you get washboard, and it's no binding effect.
Oh,
So the purpose of it is to reduce that.
Well, just another way to simplify it for you, basically, Josh, I'm not trying to step on your toes, you lose an inch of dirt a year. By doing this helps pack the roads down and holds them together, so the cost comparison and, 12,000 gallons, that's just a, I mean, something like this, Josh, you probably could have done a lot more if you wanted to, but it's just it's a tough thing to do, but it does help hold your road together, like he's saying, but to give you a comparable thing, about 1 inch a year you lose between dust and plowing off and stuff like that, so this helps you hold that together a little bit better
Yep.
than what it does.
Either way, thank you, gentlemen, yeah.
All right, moving on to 9B, discuss equipment radios.
Well, I guess we ran the test, had one
I never used a
graded
wheel
and fell off the roof, and
That was another-
not good enough, I guess, but he had it in the cab, and I took the pickup while he was grading, and pretty much went to either end of town, lost service once, but it picked within 2 seconds, another tower out. And, I mean, it was, when it's standing here, well, be more like Trevor and I sitting here talking, it was that clear, that close. I actually had somebody comment, Troy had his headset on, and was talking to somebody on the telephone, and they were impressed that the radios were working, because they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I did discuss with Tina, they'll do a 1 month pay, so we can pay now while they'd start in October. If we waited another couple weeks, it would be, you'd start it the next month, and then pay right up until July, and it was $4,122 is what I'm coming up with from what you guys all received from meetings past. But he was asking if we could take it out of the equipment fund, you guys would have to, and then just pay the lump sum, or agree that we could
don't see why it couldn't be used from the equipment fund in that regard.
We
I mean,
haven't used anything out of the equipment fund, because we haven't gotten new trucks, so.
right, yeah.
I figured
is
that
key
we could use it to pay
We'll talk to each other.
till June 30th, and then we can budget, I can budget for it for next year.
Yeah, like Taylor said, I don't see anything that's wrong with that. It's key equipment they need.
Yeah.
I think it's an important,
A monthly fee, and it's their equipment, it's a rental fee, so if something goes wrong, a mic breaks, whatever, they bring it right in and down, put it in the truck, or whatever it is, and he said they haven't raised their prices, he did say that, in quite a few years, and he said,
they're due.
I believe something's gonna happen in the next couple of years, he said. What it is, I don't know, I mean, right now it's $29 a month for whatever the units are. And like I said, it worked well, it was pretty impressive.
It could be helpful for other entities around town to see how it works for the road crew.
I
And
think it's Lancaster uses it, I heard Stratton, Town of Stratton just signed up for it this past July. You guys, like, if you or Tom or Shane or anybody, you could pay the $29 and actually hook it to your cell phone a month, so if you wanted to get a hold of us, you could actually, be like a walkie-talkie through your phone, I guess.
right,
So there's, you can, I think it's a desktop too, for the same $29, you can, they were talking about that, if the mobile, or, the base unit didn't work in the garage, we could get it hooked to the computer, so Troy could call in, if we were like back at the garage, we could call out through the computer and say, are you coming, you know, we almost back, or, you know, if you broke down out there somewhere. Cause right now, if we're in the shop and one guy's still out there, we're waiting for him to return, something goes wrong, we're still waiting, you know?
Yep.
I think it's been a failing technology around here that has been in desperate need of updating, so.
Like I said, I think Troy lost a little service on Haven Hill, but like I said, the antenna was in the cab. With the antenna on the pickup, I didn't lose, you know, I think it was Howard Hill. It went out, just going up the hill, but within a couple seconds it beeped, and I hooked to a different tower somewhere else. So I think we're in range of good communication.
Pretty good effectiveness, yeah.
Everywhere.
Perfect. Anyone care to make a motion to pay out of the equipment fund? We don't have one right now.
Yeah. I would make a motion to pay for a contract for radios for the road crew equipment out of the equipment reserve fund. Excuse me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just the only thing to add to this, we discussed with you, the only vehicle or equipment we didn't, or I didn't put a radio in this a little more, so it'd be an extra radio if we wanted. I mean, at the moment, the fella on that didn't really care, but we might wanna think about it, maybe.
This agreement included one handheld though, didn't it?
Two handhelds, but the handhelds aren't, they're more of a close network, because we're not paying extra fees for, I mean, we can, I guess, to get. But this is more like if you were directing traffic, you have two-way, not so
Right,
much.
two people that were in close proximity
Yeah.
to the
But
tower.
that's the thing, with these radios, they do have, like, if the power goes down, the tower goes out, there is a truck-to-truck button that you can push, so you're still back kind of the old ways, is what I'm figuring. But you won't be digital, because the tower, you know, power down, like a cell phone. So we're going to, you know, once in a while, after that, old school.
Initiate the agreement, see how it works, and then amend it as necessary if we have to add or
Yeah.
make one of the handhelds activated like the rest of them, so that if we get other equipment or certain situations where you want that to be flexible in what vehicle it can go into.
Like the flooding, you know, if you had a guy you were working with, you might want to vehicle, so you can communicate, you know, deliver loads or whatever, and that's where that truck-to-truck thing would
Yeah.
So if I was running a truck and had, you know, Louis running an excavator, or trailer, or whatever, you know, and you could get him the handheld and put it on truck to truck, then him and I could communicate throughout the day in that regards.
I think you'll figure out over time how they work best, and we can adapt as needed.
Sounds good. Okay, and moving on to 9C, review bids and award contract for town highway edge line markings.
Well, I put this out to bid and we didn't get any bids. There was a short time frame. It's late in the season. We just couldn't get it done earlier, but I had contacted L&D Stripe, which is one of the larger firms. They said they could get it done, and they didn't bid. Who was it? You'd mentioned that Winhall Station Road, the others, the Win.
Winhall Hollow.
Winhall
I
Hollow.
wish you guys have white lines now.
Did-
Who did them?
We put it out in the spring.
Yeah. So we didn't have the bid, we got a grant to do
I know
this.
L&D's in town.
What's that?
I said, I know L&D's in town, I just seen it today.
Yeah, well, they didn't bid, and, the state required, we got a state grant of $35,000 to do it, and,
Is there any way
Lose
to,
the money if you don't spend it?
I did ask them, I said, what happens if nothing works out? They said there'll be another round next year, you guys will be at the top of the list, which is good. But,
is there any reason that we couldn't, I mean, it's probably not gonna get any more likely, but could we just put this back out, or is that,
yeah, I tried reaching them to say, what happened? You didn't bid.
right?
And I never got through to anybody, left a message. But, if you have a contact there, let me know. I said, L&D.
Well, I do, but just, if they're booked up, to get them to come now, it's gonna be next to impossible.
Right, well, last week, a week and a half ago, they said, sure, we have time this year, so I don't know. I'll give them a call again, but,
Like I said, I talked to them today.
yeah.
In town, so.
Oh.
They're in the state.
Yeah, I just don't know why they did, but because it's a state grant, we have to bid it out, and, I'll call the
If
state.
you only get
folks.
one responder, though, you
That
can.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, just have to put it out.
But, we put it on the state bid site, we did all this procurement stuff that we're required to do.
No.
Nothing, so there's nothing to report there, other than we struck out.
Alright, moving on to item 10, old business, 10A, town office renovation, considered change order for roofing.
This was one of the items that the board put off making a decision on, and I think I included information. For some reason, the stuff didn't come out very well, but it was alternate number 6. And it was recommended by the architect and Chris Cole that we actually move forward with this, and that the price is half what we normally would pay, apparently, at $13,000. And that way, the entire roof would be done at the same time. It would all look the same, and,
It would all be due again at the same time.
exactly, you wouldn't be fiddling with it, because it's already 15 years old.
Yep.
And, 5 years from now, we'd have to replace it anyway. It's never gonna get cheaper, and apparently it's a really good price that they've kept, even though we are beyond the September 1st deadline. They said they'd keep it.
Might as well do it then, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad idea at all to do it.
Anyone care to make the motion?
I move to authorize a change order for the town office renovation project, implement bid alternative 6, which calls for re-roofing the main gable section of the building over the front entry hall and clerk and zoning wings at a cost of $13,000, and authorize the town administrator to execute any documents necessary to implement this change order.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Just want to report one matter, which is that, I don't think I know if I mentioned this or not, they did, when they were taking the window framing off, they did find vermiculite in the walls.
They have to
So
have it
we're getting a,
It's already been sucked out, they already took it it out.
Oh, green, Catamount came in?
Thanks, yeah.
No, they were pulling,
Oh.
that was the ceiling installation they were pulling out.
Oh.
No, we have to get a, contract from, Green, Catamount, and so we're waiting on that. We know that it'll be a little bit below $5,000, so I'm pre-authorized to go ahead with that, but I have to report it, but I'm just letting you know it's coming.
That's a remediation.
Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
remediate the vermiculite. Nobody knew it was there.
Is
There may
it
be
an
also-
asbestos product? Is it?
Vermiculite, there is asbestos. I used to clean it out of attics. Yeah,
So there's a
Really
test
bad.
that they can do, actually, that where they, I mean, the giveaway is if they can find the bags of it inside the building where they dump it in and then they just stuff the bags in there. If you can read the bag and it comes from X amount of mining facility in a certain area of the world that had asbestos in it, then they know immediately that it is. If you pay the money to have it tested, you can actually find out that it does not have it in it. So there is, but any remediation company would go through that testing process, most likely. to
apparently it's not a whole lot either. You know, I think it's remnant from the past when they pulled it all out in order to do the more recent insulation. So it's,
Right.
it's old.
Alright.
And also that they've found some ledge in the basement, and they're trying to
Under
work.
the slab.
Yeah, under the slab, there's some ledge. So they're trying to figure out what can happen with that.
Dynamite?
No. I asked that question.
I think he said the engineer's coming tomorrow to look at how they're gonna pour the slab.
Yeah.
Hammer.
They're really tearing it apart.
The pile of slab chunks on
Yes.
the lawn is pretty impressive.
Today they were bringing out
It's
dirt.
gone.
That's the
I
second,
mean,
that's the second one.
yeah, the floor's gone in there. It looked
Yeah.
like when I was down there today.
And there was some extra depth of slab that wasn't expected. And so I think that's gonna be a change order at some point also. Not a whole lot, but some.
No.
Interesting
Yeah.
finds.
Because there was a slab over a slab.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I haven't had a chance to do that though. I took all the measurements and I just need to ship it all over to,
The auction company.
Auctions International. But the two old ones that are gonna stay are gonna go right at the base of the stairway, and they are gonna slightly reinforce the concrete there. It probably doesn't have to happen, but they're already pouring, and so they're, instead of, I guess, 4 inch, they're gonna go to 6 inch or 6 to 8, something like that. So we don't have to move them
Go
ever,
through what was there.
we don't wanna move them ever again.
No.
We as a
We
community,
as in you.
you as the guy who got it done. You did
It
a
was much
great job,
appreciated, yeah.
Yeah.
super job.
Just the downfall, Shane, is that the ones we're keeping are in front of
Yeah,
what we're gonna sell, so,
but they have wheels, so.
yeah, okay.
They don't wheel very
And
good.
you can move them.
Just gotta
Whoever
pour a
buys
slab to
them
roll
can
them on.
be
Just gotta have
responsible.
some fair warning if they're being moved again and when and where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We found a way to do it easier than the first time.
Good.
So,
That sounds like an unfair warning to me.
Yeah, I won't have time this week,
That pallet jack was $25 well spent.
yeah,
but I'll probably get those out next week. It won't happen this week.
but I'm just thinking of winter storage, so.
Alright,
It would just be a 2-week bid period or something.
10B, discuss FEMA Community Assistance Team.
Wait, who made the motion, that last one, on the change order? That was you, James, right?
I did, yeah.
And who seconded? I'm sorry.
I think I did.
Yeah, Taylor did.
Thank you. The board asked to put that back on the agenda.
Because Tom wasn't.
Yep.
Yeah,
Kelly couldn't be
Yeah, Kelly and Sam had a
My
meeting
takeaway from the,
Waterbury or something.
Yeah.
my takeaway from the conversation with the gentleman who accompanied Kelly was that this feels like a win-win, and we just wanted Tom to be here to sort of revisit the conversation about it, but the fact that Londonderry was designated because of our unfortunate circumstance in the 2023 flooding, that this put us sort of high in the list of communities that they were offering this support, so.
And from reading the minutes, it sounds like it's something that towns are eventually gonna have to do anyway, so you might as well
Yeah.
get on board and do it.
We need to, something that just said we were gonna opt in or not?
Not that I recall.
No.
I can ask Kelly.
Yeah.
I think we'll have to probably form a task force to really dig into it,
Yes.
Right.
but I don't,
I think we just make ourselves.
if they're offering us
them.
assistance, I don't see any reason not to take it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was generally the feeling, I think.
Alright, well, I'll reach out to Kelly and see if we need any formal declaration or anything. Alright, 10C, discuss governmental operations structure audit study.
So I asked if we could put this on the agenda because when we first discussed it, we acknowledged that there were lots of items that they were suggesting to us that we consider and let's see, it's in the materials, 10, what is it, 10C, in your packet. And with Shane's expected retirement in the next 6 to 12 months, we should be in the business of thinking about succession planning. And succession planning makes the opportunity available to us to think about maybe reconfiguring the way this particular study came out with moving from a town administrator to a town manager form of government. And I'm not saying we need to discuss the content today, but I would like to engage perhaps Chris Campany or somebody from the Wyndham Regional Commission to come and talk to us about how communities benefit from going to a town manager model. There will be budgetary issues related to it, but I also think that as their report stated, it's getting harder and harder to find volunteers to help you run your town, and I know how much time gets sucked up in our meetings with things that if we had a town manager could be more easily delegated through that individual to run those various departments. So I would like us to agree to talk about this as a succession planning opportunity for us going forward.
So, if my understanding's correct, I believe the town has to vote to go to town manager, and I doubt the town's gonna vote to spend $150,000 a year on a town manager.
Well, I know when Shane has shared what salary ranges are anyway for town administrators, we're going to be faced with some big upticks in that salary line item anyway. And so I think we might as well just...
Gee, thanks.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to phase it. I'm trying to phase it away, describe it in a way, but I think the reality is going to hit us so that we could consider the option in terms of size and being able to have an effective government structure for it. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, just a question, a general question, because once you go to a town manager, your select board is now involved in void, correct?
Excuse me?
The select board will have no power anymore?
No.
Very
no,
limited.
They have the power over the
No,
town.
we have very limited power after a town manager. Town manager fires, hires,
Well, it's,
select board
But
doesn't
they
have much
report
authority.
to the select board.
well,
We have authority over him, but
Yeah.
that's it.
Right, but that's how.
He has authority
your
over
structure
everything
works.
else, though.
well, no, I mean, I've been a town manager a couple times, so I know a lot of like ministerial stuff that happens can be done, not having to go to a board meeting, but it's done by the manager. True, the manager has the power, only the manager has the power to hire, fire, discipline. The select board sets the policy, and it's the manager's job those policies can be, give all kinds of power to the manager that are not already given by statute, or not. I mean,
So
it's
my
a
question
spectrum.
would be is, what would the taxpayer themselves have for control of their own town if they want to?
Your select board, who you appoint as select board members,
Absolutely.
because they oversee and appoint, they hire and fire the manager. That's how it works in any company.
And they set the budget,
Yeah, I
they
mean,
put all the budget together, do all the ordinances. Basically, the manager has a small set of things that they are able to do statutorily. The select board still does all kinds of other stuff.
I think about the highway department having to come and submit all kinds of requests and having to wait for a bi-weekly schedule of meetings and have to present them to the select board to do that. Why not be able to go to that direct report and be able to say, I'd like to do X, Y, and Z, and have that individual, in this case the manager, sign off on it. To me, it's a much more effective way.
But on that, we kind of have that already in some ways. See, if, with the purchasing policy, we have different levels. But yeah, there are some communities that say, it's $10,000, up to $10,000.
Right.
It's at the discretion of the manager. Anything over it has to go to the board. That's
Yeah.
what happens. So.
And I think with the Wyndham Regional Commission, we can get the perspective of what do other communities our size typically do? Where are communities moving? Londonderry's moved a long way. We have a wastewater commission now, we have an affordable housing commission now. There's another one, wastewater. And planning commission, all the work the planning commission's doing. There's a lot of moving pieces now in our town, and I think to have a structure that is respectful and is able to manage all of those various and will make us much more efficient.
Is this something you would put into a town vote?
Has to be.
Apparently you have to.
It's required.
Yeah, yeah.
Shane, according to the government study that was done, the town manager is also the road commissioner and the delinquent tax collector. With all that you do, how does those two jobs factor into what you already do in terms of time-wise, time organization?
Well, this has been a rough year because there's just so many things going on. But, delinquent tax collector is,
Have to be the delinquent tax collector.
yeah, it does not have to be, that's correct, can be. And oftentimes, you'll sub out, at least as we do already, some of the paperwork to the attorney. It's not a real heavy lift to do that. But road commissioner, one thing is the town manager is at the town office at all times while, you're working, and it's, so you really can't turn on a dime sometimes when you have to. I don't know, it's a tough question, but she's correct in that there's a lot of, we're getting busy, not necessarily bigger, but busier and busier. And it is, there's something needs to happen in order to stay on top of all, just in my view, to stay up on all of this. And I'm not in this for me, I'm not gonna be the town manager even if it gets voted in. But there's a lot coming, and there's a lot already happening that we can't, much like the bid for the line striping, I just couldn't get to that. There was so many other things going on that we couldn't get to it, and we're really busy, really busy. I don't think we're right-sized.
So I think succession planning is appropriate, and being able to think ahead of the game about what we might want to consider, and by getting some expert advice and counsel from the Wyndham Regional Commission, we'll at least learn what other like communities are doing. What's the trend? What's the typical cost? What are the upsides and downsides of doing that? It was suggested to us in this report, and I think we should we should look at it.
So, one quick question, for clarity. If you did hire a town manager, would you still have, a town administrator? So
No.
how would the town manager do all of those
They
things?
need somebody, they need a secretary,
They would, right, so that,
Probably an assistant.
that one position would end up being two.
two positions.
Yeah, okay. But it wouldn't be in the form of
But-
an administrator,
But you'd be
No,
getting
it's
stuff,
the same.
more stuff done also. There are things that just aren't getting done.
right?
Um,
For two reasons. One is availability of someone who has the power, and the other is the capacity of someone to do all the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, I'd be able to get stuff done that's just not getting done already, you know. If someone did come in, whatever successor comes in whatever form, should have that, if they're really, to me, to get done what needs to get done. Again, we're just, the resources we have are not in my view, not adequate for.
And it may be that applicants, or the way that we've equipped the position with all the right bells and whistles so that we find the right candidate. Because what we don't want to do is sell ourselves short and get somebody who can't manage, even at a minimum, what Shane is managing now. So I think we need to be thinking about what the world will look like in 6 months or in 5 years. I think that's kind of the reality. And when you think about all the grants management work that Shane is having to do, it's a ton. And it's paid for itself. So anyway, it's just a request to have another fuller conversation about this.
Yeah, we can have a conversation, we get all the information possible to make, but in the end, it comes down, like Trevor's saying, it comes down to the taxpayer and what they wanna do.
Yep.
It comes down, do they wanna change our form of government, or do they wanna leave it up to the 5 people they've elected to help make these initiatives? Put it
Well, the
all-
5 people are still there. We're
We-
not changing. We're
I
not changing
understand, I
that.
read through it, I understand the
Yeah.
5 people are still there.
I
But
think
it's
it's
up,
gonna be a bet-
but in the end, it's up to them, and who they
Right.
put, and what they wanna do.
Right, and I think it's a messaging, it will be a lot about how we message what this means for our town too, so.
I personally believe that this system's worked. I've watched it most of my life work. I mean, do we have to make some changes obviously here and there? Yes. But I believe in what we have and just see what the people wanna do. We get all the information, we present the information to the people and they make the decision.
I think we should be as informed as possible about what options are.
I'm saying that.
Yeah.
From both sides, present to them all the information possible, but then it comes down to them.
Our town's changing so quickly, we're spending so much money, and I know it doesn't, to me, it just seems like more money, there's more money, our taxes are going up, it's going up, it's going up, just adding more things. We have to swallow what we just put in, the big septic system, more money, you know, it's just a lot. Things will change, but it's just gonna have to be a little bit, it's like our town has been fast-tracked in the past 8 years. Just a lot. And I know the board sees it, but come from another community member, it's a lot of talk around our town about us locals having a hard time making ends meet anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And losing control. Yeah. So,
Alright,
that's my thought.
thank you. Moving on to 10D, ratify 9/9/2024 decision to reschedule site visit and public hearing for Rest Haven Road reclassification.
I move with regard to the proposed reclassification of a portion of Rest Haven Road to ratify the board's 9/9/2024 decision to reschedule the date and time for examining the premises and hearing interested persons from September 30th, 24 at 4 PM to a new date of October 21st, 2024, at 5 PM prior to the regular board meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Moving on to item 11.
By James?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to let you know that I did send out the notice to the abutters already. That's the one that needed to be 30 days ahead of time, so that's done. And then to the planning commission is just 10 days.
Moving on to item 11, new business. 11A, Parks Board, appoint new member to fill vacancy. Yeah, you can make the motion.
Move to appoint Joel Jordan to the Parks Board to fill a vacancy for a term extending to 4/30/2026.
Second.
Do you want to meet him?
I know.
I'm done.
Already.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry. Who made the motion again?
I did.
Second.
Congratulations, Joel.
Discussion.
Slightly to Parks Board and met just before this. We've had similar conversations with Planning Commission. The board definitely would like to extend something to Kelly for all the persons. And wasn't sure what the process was. We weren't sure how that works with Select Board and Parks Board. Elizabeth is willing to write something out, but we were hoping we could get the full, the full process, whatever that would be, so. Not sure what ended up happening with some of the other
Do a resolution.
thank yous that go out, but if there's.
Yeah. Resolution or thank yous?
I didn't know that.
We could do a card or however we want to do it, but I don't think anyone's gonna say no to that.
Great,
Yep.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
11B, consider request to use town hall. Nope. Go ahead.
I'm Jan Payne, I submitted a request to Shane. Information you might want to hear before I just start rambling off, if you have any specific that you'd like to know about it.
What would the event be?
It would be a freelance writer and speaker who focuses on Vermont legislation. He has been speaking most recently about affordability. Clean heat standard and housing.
What's the date?
October 8th, Tuesday. It's kind of hard to find a place in Londonderry, you know. They even tried neighborhood connections and it wasn't about wellness. But I did try to convince them that people are freezing to death in the winter, it is about wellness.
And what time would this be? 6 o'clock?
Writers.
And is this endorsed by any Republican or Democratic Party?
I am on the ballot to, for state representative in the district of Andover, Weston, Londonderry, and Limbo.
Because in our painting events on town property, so I don't know.
Is that only at the polls, or is that
That's only at the polls, but
anytime? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out
There
there
is
for the
actually
board.
voting going on, and I don't know,
Not here, though.
no, but,
No, but something for the board
but
to
this is the
consider.
polling place for November.
Yeah,
What
we
is
could
the
keep
nature-
it- I mean, I can ask him to keep it informational, and that's what he primarily tells, how things work, how it came about, you know, if he does make state. Someone's pursued him for libel.
Tell me,
Rob Roper,
say it again, please.
Rob Roper.
And who's he affiliated with?
To be the CEO of Ethan Allen Institute.
Of what?
Ethan Allen Institute,
Uh-huh.
a free think
So everybody's thoughts?
I mean, is there concern about it being campaigning, or is there any reason to try to limit the type of information, or, I don't, that's a question, I guess, I'm not sure.
I mean, the real campaigning thing really came up because of who's asking to use the building, I
Right.
think, mostly. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know this guy.
I think mainly it's on election day.
Campaigning
No,
in
I mean,
place of
people
polling.
can stand outside, but they have to stand outside with their sign and.
Right, so I think that's not necessarily a conflict then.
Well, that's not so much campaigning, that's just,
Yeah, I don't think there's any particular.
I don't see a problem with it.
I don't, Rob Roper, a freelance Vermont writer and speaker.
back for Parks Town Hall winter maintenance. There's 2 bids that came in,
We're not too good on that.
where were they?
That the Parks Board,
Oh, I was almost done.
Yeah, it was for, do we actually need to be plowing parks or opening the parks in the wintertime?
I think it's the recommendations, I think it's the select board that makes that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how those. So, that's both. Well, Memorial's already closed down for the season, but wouldn't be plowed in theory, and then Pingree would, the gate would be locked, after first snowfall, until appropriate time to be plowed. This was attempting to save a few dollars.
It's a select board that determines what facilities and buildings.
So with the invitation of including Pingree Park how do
In
we-
Memorial.
and Memorial, how do we proceed?
Well,
Isn't the bid separate, the
Yeah, there's the,
town hall separate from,
yeah.
right.
each piece has its own.
Well, can I,
Just like,
can I speak on them? So I plowed them for 3 years.
go ahead.
Paper gets used a lot for, all sorts of stuff. Not so much the dog park, some people walk down there with their dogs, but sledding, there's always people there.
The trail,
The trail, right.
Yeah.
Park their cars in Memorial Park to walk. They walk out to Memorial or they walk Goodyear. Do you want them on the road?
Oh, they won't be able to.
Well, that's what I mean. I think it's, Liam and I did discuss about this, I think it's something that should be discussed for a little bit before we just pull the plug on it. I don't have to plow it, it's not like my main business, but I think it should be talked about through the town before we just all of a sudden pull the plug. Pissed.
Well, like I said, I can see Pingree Park being used quite a lot. Not saying I personally have been there, but.
well, and it's only been a short period of time that we've been doing it, right? Those 3 years. Time since the town did it, basically, or if it even was done. We recently supported the idea in putting this out and actually getting the work done, and I personally still support the idea of keeping the parks open in the wintertime.
I'll be the light elephant. Numbers. I'm a terrible physical weasel sometimes, but if you're talking, saving X number of dollars or keep the parks open or closed, is it?
Talking about this year, keeping Pingree and Memorial, 2,250 from Dryden's Outdoor, or landscaper.
So is that,
I know the feeling.
is that the town hall and everything, or is that just the two parts?
Town hall is
That's just the
separate.
2 part. Obviously, we need this done this year, no matter what.
Right, I mean, my question is it worth the 2,000?
Probably not.
And I'm with Taylor, at least especially with like Pingree, because I have seen people like snowshoe. I've even seen kids out there, even in the winter time, throwing a basketball up, even though it's covered.
Nope.
And I'd just like to ask you a question, what was your guys' conversation with that when you came up with that? Was it just solely based on money, or was there another factor?
Money was definitely the biggest piece of the conversation. I find myself in a position here, because I don't vote on the Parks Board, but I will answer all of the public's.
Yeah, no, that's just, that's what I just brought up when you're talking.
But the Parks Board, I like the Parks Board, so. So, we don't know the numbers. Maybe we continue as we go, or have been going with plowing, and continue as we go, or have been going with plowing, and throw a game camera out there. We can put out a survey, we can talk to.
Say, oh yeah, there's 3 or 4 cars here,
Yeah.
not cars.
I mean, it'd be different, I mean, if the kids were going up there and partying, I mean, that'd be a different conversation.
Just you make.
And as far yeah, that one I'm even more hesitant to shut down without talking to the people and finding out, because I'm new to this position. I haven't done a full winter yet, so I was not starting last year sitting there looking at how many people are out there. So I don't know what the use is, and so yeah, I'm also a little hesitant to shut it down without talking to don't want it.
I think there's a couple factors too, and need to get out and do things, but also just maybe that was not the new norm necessarily, but there were long stretches of time where there wasn't even snow on the ground. And, you know, to try to open and close it based on the weather doesn't really work, so I think just it may not take that much. Oh, well, I mean, this is a contract price, so it is what it is, but, more use rather than less.
So why don't we go for the plowing, and Liam can take a look at the park every now and again and see if people are using it, and we can reconsider it at other time.
And that would be maybe, sorry for this suggestion, but maybe we look at doing a contract and make that an assessment period, or I think this is for 2, so I'm not sure how that works.
It can, we can vote for one winter or consecutive winters.
Just,
So,
and I'm just tell me what to do.
So why don't we do the one winter then, and see what the use is, and then go from there.
You wanna make that motion?
Sure.
Would just be Pingree Park, or both, you say?
Both, I think we agreed on.
Yeah, because he said people walk Vinnie Bill.
So especially if they can't make the hill.
Yep.
That's true.
Versus parking in the road.
We're doing.
And if I would imagine even if we didn't plow more, the folks are still gonna want to use it, and then they're gonna park where they should.
No.
I think that would be the biggest negative effect, would be if you close it and it still sees some use, then it's improper.
I'll make the motion. I move to accept the bid from Drens Outdoor for Parks and Town Hall winter maintenance for the next winter, and to authorize the town administrator to execute any documents necessary for the hiring of the contractor to provide the necessary material and services.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations, Levi. And moving,
Seems apparent.
and moving on to 11D. Executive session, appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee per 1 VSA 313. And
Who are we inviting? Invite me only?
Sure.
Shane only?
figure out what time we went in.
8:02,
8 or something.
out at 8:12.
Came out of executive session at 8:13. Who wants to make the last motion?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.